Hi, this is Jen Rubin, and this is Jen Rubin's Green Room. In many respects, this has already been a solemn, very sad week. On Monday, we experienced the one-year anniversary of the pogrom, which it was, by Hamas on innocent Israelis. And I think the recognition of this day, the recognition of the pain and suffering that American Jews still feel today, and a recognition of the disgusting rise in anti-Semitism was more profound and more widespread than I anticipated. And for that, I was grateful. There were commemorations in various cities. The president had a small but touching ceremony. And the vice president and the second gentleman, who is Jewish, had a ceremony at the Naval Observatory where they live that was quite moving. He spoke about his personal pain. She spoke about her reaction to this horrid event, to her commitment to Israel, to her absolute horror at the pain that the hostage families have gone through. And then together they helped plant a pomegranate tree. Pomegranates are very symbolic for Jews, particularly at the high holy days, in which we are now engaged in. It is a symbol of fertility, a symbol of righteousness, a symbol of the mitzvot that Jews are commanded to perform. So it was touching, it was appropriate, it was highly meaningful. Then there was Donald Trump. And if you could have been more inappropriate, more hurtful, more awful, I don't know how you could have done it. So what was his day like? Well, he began on Hugh Hewitt's radio show, whereon he pronounced that immigrants suffered from bad genes. That's a Hitlerian comment, if I've ever heard one. He then proceeded to give some mumbo-jumbo answer when asked about whether Israel should strike nuclear targets. By the way, it's U.S. policy that we should try not to do that so as not to set off a nuclear engagement. Later, he went to an event in New York in which he offered to sign a prayer book. How inappropriate is that? It's not a memento. It's not about him. What is he doing? Hawking his wares there as well? And then he wrapped up things in Florida when, after a little speech, he had music playing, which was his campaign YMCA theme. And he danced a little jig. Really? That's how you remember 1,200 dead Jews? That's how you reach out to the American Jewish population that is still reeling from not only that, but from the anti-Semitism. But what do you expect? This is a guy who consistently accuses Jews of dual loyalty, who is prepared to blame Jews if he loses the election. So I can't imagine a starker contrast, unless you're talking about the reaction to the hurricane. There again, it's like light and darkness, day and night. Kamala Harris is trying to buck up FEMA. She's trying to get out word that there's plenty of aid available. She's talking to the governors. She is talking to people on the ground. What is Donald Trump doing? He's lying. He's giving the message that FEMA isn't helping, that you only get $750, that they're going to take your land away, that this is the worst handling of a national emergency ever. Why does he do this? He does this because the only way he can puff himself up is by denigrating others. And he does it for another reason. He does it because he wants to denigrate the operation of good government. Remember what his Project 2025 plan is. It's going to replace permanent bureaucrats, those people who are getting aid to people, those people who predict the weather, those people who regulate our drugs, those people who regulate chemicals in the workplace. They're all going to be gone, and in their place will be Trump cronies. And we know what they're going to do because we know what Trump has done in the past. He wants to award aid based on the political affiliation of the people affected. So again, it's just stark, raving madness that people would vote for such a character. But they will. Millions will. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is infuriating the mainstream media by doing a whole bunch of media appearances designed to get to the audience that doesn't watch mainstream media. She was on The View. She talked to Howard Stern. She's going to be on Stephen Colbert. Earlier, she had done a podcast. These are efforts not to get softball interviews, but to reach people who are still on the fence or who may not vote. This is what you have to do to win an election. It's incredibly smart and effective, and it drives the mainstream media insane. Why? Because they're not the center of the universe. They're not essential. They're not even important in the final weeks of the campaign, and they know it. So they're grousing, they're pouting, they're complaining. Now, she did do one traditional media appearance. That was 60 Minutes. The segment opened with a damning explanation of Trump's effort to first connive to have no fact checking and then later backing out and throwing a hissy fit. Doesn't that sound familiar? So he got that instead of whatever period of time he wanted to get his message across. She was, I think, confronted toughly, perhaps excessively on a few points, but she handled herself extremely well. She got her message out. She communicated that she wants to help middle-class families. She wants to go after price gouging. She wants to lower the price of pharmaceuticals. She wants to lower the price of housing. So she got her message across, and Trump was left characterized, properly so, as a chicken, as a coward. So we are in the final stretch, the final 4 weeks of the campaign. It is close, to my chagrin, if you believe the polls. It may be in the long run, it's not that close. It may be that all of these efforts to pull in people who are on the fence or who were not regular voters bears fruit, and that she wins comfortably. But for what we see right now, she's ahead, but just by a little. So you know what you need to do. You need to register. You need to vote. Vote early if you can, and spread the word. Now, if you like this program and you like our other programs, you can click right there, tell your friends and relations, and they can get us wherever they get their podcasts.